Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance. This is old what's-his-face, Tom Farrell. I'm Mike Wiginton. So when we're thinking about investment themes and looking ahead and thinking about where clients ought to be positioning their money, certainly we're always on the hunt for, but we don't always find certain problems that I call them, they're structural in nature. We don't always find ones that are so glaring, but from time to time we do.
Right.
Okay. And today, if I were going to put a title on today's podcast, it would be, and you might say potential, but I'd just say the natural gas crisis. and we want to talk about energy in general, but natural gas in particular. So a lot of people don't know this, but prior to the mid-2000s, so as you go back to 2000 to 2005, we actually, as a country, we imported natural gas. Yeah. We had some facilities on the Gulf Coast primarily, but they were for importing. But then along comes technology in the energy field with hydraulic fracturing. We call it fracking. Mm-hmm. Okay, and a lot of people are aware of this in the shale plays throughout various parts of North America, and it, of course, oil, it seemed, got the major part of the story because we all of a sudden became this great oil producing region, and actually for a period of time began exporting more oil than we imported. So we were a net exporter of oil. But one of the, maybe the primary, one of the primary side effects to drilling for oil or byproducts is natural gas.
Right.
And it unleashed these enormous sums of natural gas in this country. And we had an oversupply.
Right.
Which took the price of natural gas here in this country down at one point, as recently as 2020, it was south of $2. So the question becomes, how in the world, going back to when it was south of $2 here, how in the world can a commodity like natural gas trade at less than $2 in the United States and trade for over 20, at the same time, trade for $20 or more in Europe? And so, yeah. you know, in the stock market, we have this thing called arbitrage.
Right.
You know, if you look at the price of IBM, it trades for the same price, adjusted for currency translation, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Madrid, London, New York Stock Exchange. And our mechanism makes it so. Otherwise, you'd buy IBM for $120 on the New York Stock Exchange and sell it for $135 in Tokyo and make the
right.
And as you know, of course, electronics helps that, but it exploits that, and people are trading on that, and it's part of what makes the market efficient. The reason for the discrepancy in natural gas is the fact that all the natural gas that was produced here essentially had to stay here. There was no way to export it.
Right.
And so we had an oversupply. We couldn't use it, so the price goes down. That's obviously changing via the LNG. Since 2016, we've been building liquid natural gas facilities in this country in earnest. And today, the price of natural gas, this morning it was $8.43. It was a little over $32 in Europe. I submit that to you that the global price of natural gas will be converging, and that we're going to be paying a much, much higher price for natural gas in this country going forward than we are today.
So basically, we have plenty of supply here to meet our needs. So the price has stayed relatively low until recently. And overseas, they're not in the same boat, so they're looking for supply. And now there's an opportunity to fill that void, if you will, from our reserves, from what we're getting out of the ground. So that you think because of that, the price is going to start to converge. Not necessarily that theirs is going to come down a lot, but ours may end up going up just because if these producers can sell for $32, $33, $34, $35, why would they sell it here for $8 or $9?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And you know, and we're not the only country doing this. You know, they're building these same facilities in Australia, but it's just like you said that the rest of the world doesn't have the same sorts of reserves for energy, and so yes, I mean that it's going on right now. You can look at Cheniere Energy. They have the facility down on the Gulf Coast at the Sabine Pass facility. It's one of the largest, maybe the largest in our country. I mean, it's enormous. And if you look at what they're exporting, that trend just is only continuing. You may have read recently, today's May the 5th, you may have read recently over sometime last month, you know, the president was committing, and how he does this, I don't know, committing or pledging more natural gas shipments to Europe. Now, of course, these are private assets, so I don't know how somebody pledges your assets on your behalf, and that's not, and it really does, and in fact, it doesn't work like that. But nonetheless, just the optics of that, pledging more natural gas to Europe, and quite frankly, more natural gas is heading to Europe. They're heading where they can sell it for in the 30s, okay, versus $8.43 now.
Right.
And you know how long we've been talking about energy since 2012, when you know it was fracking was a political football.
Right.
Here in our region, they shut down one of the coal-fired plants, Gorgas, to commit to only burning natural gas at the Miller plant, which are two steam plants with the Southern Company. You may recall, you need to back me up on this because you were here and alive at both at the same time. Okay, they said if anything ever happens to the price of natural gas, that it's going to be a political football. As a matter of fact, we said the rich folks, whoever they are, I don't know if I've ever seen one of what they look like. I don't know if there's any criteria for that. Will be paying the poor people's power bill.
Right.
And already you're hearing across different regions of the country people complain about their power bills going up. And I'm telling you, man, you know, the financial industry is enemy number one to energy. They said, oh, we're not going to lend anymore to fossil fuels. We've done podcasts on that. We've written blogs on that. Exploration and production efforts by the major oil companies have gone through the floor, have just sunk to nothing. Yeah. Environmental, social governance. Remember we do the ESG? How many? I think we did 1,000 ESG podcasts or so. And people would say, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I don't know. Who knows what you're talking about? Well, this is now your power bill's going up in part, in no small part. It's a big reason. This environmental, social, and governance push in this country, and part of the result of that is your power bill's going up. And I've said, I hope everybody's power bill goes up triple. We all deserve it. Okay.
For letting that.
Yeah, I hope you have to downsize into one of those micro homes, like you live in a container just because you can't afford the power bill. We all deserve it for letting these kind of things. And and I'm obviously exaggerating to make a point, but for letting these things fly along that make no sense. So anyway, the market, technology, how do you get natural gas? How do you get natural gas from a gas form to a liquid form?
Get it very cold.
You get it about minus 300 degrees Fahrenheit is about how cold, and it turns into a liquid. Then you pipe it onto one of these special ships, and this is at the liquefaction facilities, like the Sabine Pass facility we were just mentioning. Pump it into that ship, they float it across the ocean till it gets to the regasification facility. They heat it up and it turns back into a gas, and boom, it's into their pipeline system. Yeah. Thanks to technology, the market's going to do its job, and we're going to be faced with in my opinion, and I think this is obvious. There are folks that do nothing but research energy. Doesn't matter what the temperature is outside, or the polar ice caps, or what the stock market's doing, or what's happening with the Kardashians. All they do is energy research. Right. No matter what the fad of the day is, or how out of favor energy is, or how in favor, they don't care. They've always done energy research. I think they're the smartest people on the block about it. And somehow, just by accident, I come across them. It's a group out of Houston. I came across them a few years ago, and I followed them. And these are things we talk. I've had an interest in energy markets, I don't know, for 30 years. But I came across these guys. They make a ton of sense to me, and this seems to be an obvious structural issue that is now being solved and is going to result in. And I can't tell you where the equilibrium, and no one else can tell you exactly where equilibrium is going to settle on natural gas prices, but it's obviously a lot higher than where it is today.
Well, because of the technology that was developed in the last 5 to 10 years, for them to be able to ship, because there's not a huge pipeline that I'm aware of. There may be, but nobody's aware of a pipeline that runs
under the ocean,
yeah, all the way around the world. So the technology's there, and it's economically feasible for them to make the conversion to liquefied gas and take it across the sea. So,
and anybody that would point to the war, I mean, the war is just the current Russia-Ukraine conflict is just noise. I mean, it's created a spike, of course. But
so this was already set in motion.
It was already there,
that.
and it's getting worse as we've outlawed coal, even clean coal. As we said, you got to shut down all these other fossil fuels. And I'm happy. I'm so open to debate on this anywhere, which is just nonsense. Unless you just want to burn up or freeze to death, and you're good with that, and shut down industrial production, which that's your opinion, you could have that. But if you think that's not good and not rational, this situation has been made worse by those efforts to shut down fossil fuel, and so increasingly we've turned more and more to natural gas, and so that certainly is exaggerated the issue. But at the same time, what have you seen? You've seen people in Europe, like Germany, who were leaders toward the green push, saying we're going to fire up our old coal plants again. Yeah. So this is going to be a problem. In my opinion, this is going to be a problem for everybody.
Well, and I think this is probably going to be something that's going to be with us for a while. This is not something that's going to be resolved in the next year or two.
It's going to be a multi-year theme.
Yeah.
I think it's perhaps could possibly be an investment theme.
Yeah. Well, anything else on that?
Probably not that's fit for television waves and compliance and such as that.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
I just can't believe all the things people say. Controversy. Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Controversy. Do I believe God? Do I believe me? Controversy. Controversy. I can't understand human curiosity. Controversy. Was it good for you?